I think right now it's day to day. She's progressed in her rehab and anticipate by hopefully what is today? What day is today? Tuesday. By hopefully end of the week she'll be on the floor, at least in practice.
Just curious, on a big picture, was Caitlyn able to go through your little walkthrough or whatever you normally do? And what do you want to see ultimately to get comfort whenever the time comes?
Yeah, she went through our walkthrough yesterday. Today it was very short, prior to game time, but she went through it yesterday, and I want to see her in practice, live in practice. I want to see her continue to work to not just build endurance, but to be able to handle contact 94 feet as it's going to be in game, and to be able to do that and sustain from an endurance standpoint. And that's going to take multiple practices to make sure that there's no regression. And, as most of us know, when we get fatigued, we look different, and see how she plays through fatigue.
Sorry to follow up on that. Do you have enough practices left for that opportunity, especially this late in the season? They get changed depending on your schedule, things like that.
Not necessarily probably team practices, but being able to put together, threes, fours, and different things that we can go against and match up with.
Well, Terrika, Foster-Brasby, you heard it from Steph White, head coach of the Indiana Fever, a coach that you know very well from covering the Connecticut Sun. That was an update, a progress report on Caitlyn Clark. And, Terrika, it's interesting because the Indiana Fever are in a very interesting position right now, right? They sit at number 6 in the league standings, but very little separation between them and some other teams. They're dealing with an incredible amount of injury turmoil right now. That obviously includes the face of their franchise, Caitlyn Clark. And, right now it appears that they're moving, like she is going to come back and return. I think that is maybe still up in the air, but at least, everything we're getting from what we heard from Steph White, they're proceeding like that. But I guess my question is, Terrika, should she come back? Is that something that she should do? Let's just go there.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you really have to weigh both sides of the coin, right? Because I think initially you want to say, there's no point, right? But there is kind of a point, right? So on one hand, the safe play is to shut her down, right? She's been dealing with nagging injuries from the groin to the most recent, a mild bone bruise in her knee. I've had a bone bruise. It is one of the most excruciating injuries that someone could have. And then Indiana's roster has been hit pretty hard too, right? The Fever are currently sitting in the middle of the pack, as you've mentioned, sitting at 6, which means when you get to the postseason, they could be facing any of the powerhouses, right? Atlanta could slide down to 3. Vegas could stay at 3. New York could move up because they're currently down, but they could move up to 3. Is it worth risking long-term health at that point for just a couple of games, right? Caitlyn Clark is your franchise cornerstone. You need to be protecting her for the next 10 years. And to me, that's way more important than trying to squeeze out a couple of wins right now to maybe adjust your position in the standings. Doesn't make any sense to me. Flip side of that, though, is there is value in bringing her back. Even if it's just late season or playoff minutes, she needs to get the reps, right? She needs to get her body back in shape. She needs to kind of feel that postseason intensity. She needs to continue to build that chemistry with Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell and Natasha Howard. And those are just moments and things that you can't really simulate in a practice. So, and then let's be honest, right? Let's be real, Nat. Her presence changes everything. Fan energy, TV buzz, ticket sales. We all know what Caitlyn Clark brings if she's healthy. And we know that she's going to want to play if she's healthy. So if it were me, I don't think it makes any sense to bring her back in the regular season. I think the regular season, you just kind of let it play out. We have seen that this Indiana team knows how to win without Caitlyn on the floor. We have seen Kelsey Mitchell put the team on her back and done so successfully. And I just don't think it's worth the risk. If she's healthy for the postseason, and I mean truly able to go with no pressure, with no risk, no restraint, if she's truly able to go for the postseason, then unleash Caitlyn Clark and let her go full strength, right? If the Fever are able to get some wins, push themselves to a semifinals position, amazing. But at the end of the day, you got to think about what is best for your franchise player. And if that means letting her start 2026 fresh and brand new, then that's what you need to do.
Yeah, I'm very conflicted about this, similar to you, but I think also too, my position is like, is it worth the risk, right? Like, this isn't even a situation, and I hated it when they did it. Their brother team, the Indiana Fever, brought back Tyrese Halliburton. But that was the NBA Finals, right? They were already in the finals. They were already in the thick of it. I'm in no way at all, I promise, am I trying to disrespect the Indiana Fever, but the likelihood of them making a deep postseason run this year is probably unlikely, right? They got playoff experience last year. They probably can still make the playoffs this year. You talked about Kelsey Mitchell and as well as Aaliyah Boston. They've been leading this team, a team that, by the way, is dealing with so many injuries. It's not just Caitlyn Clark. It is so many injuries. And every time they start to play well and turn it around, here comes another injury. Sophie Cunningham is injured. Sid Colson is injured. And these injuries they're out for the season. They are missing Arian McDonald, who was a big help to them. And so they've added, Aerial Powers recently. They did add Odyssey Sims. But like every time you have to add in new players, they have to learn, you have to like redevelop chemistry. Coach White has already talked about the fact that, they can only really kind of run basic plays and high level stuff because, the other players it's too many new players and they don't know the playbook. And so, and then I love the question that was asked in the pregame yesterday presser about, is there enough time, right? It's is there enough time? It's just like, because, she has to come back. Her conditioning needs to be right. And it might sound crazy, but you do have to re-gel with your team. And because you are missing so many players who you would normally play with, now you have to play with these new players who Caitlyn Clark hasn't even stepped foot on the court with, And so when you look at, can we see the standings again? When you look at the standings and where they can potentially match up with, right? I mean, they are right now in the 6th. So their matchup right now would be Las Vegas. And they did play well against Las Vegas. They actually won the season series this year 2-1. Yep. But Vegas has a chance to move up to the 2 seed tonight if they beat Atlanta, and they don't look like they want to lose a game again this season, right? So this is just a different Vegas team than the Fever played before. But also, Golden State and Seattle are right behind them, so it's not guaranteed that they land there. So what if they end up in the 8th spot? Yes, I get it. You beat the Minnesota Lynx in the Commissioner's Cup, but is that really like what you want? Is like a first round matchup, bringing Caitlyn Clark back from injury? And we just don't know what it will be. So look,
and to add to your point, they beat these teams when they were in a better, more healthy position than they are right now. You had Sophie, you had Sydney, you had different pieces even when you were winning. So you can't even compare the Indiana Fever, like not you, but I'm just saying in general, like you can't compare the Indiana Fever team of before All-Star to where they are now. Like it is every year there's that one team. We saw Washington be that team. We've seen LA be that team. For a minute, Chicago was that team. It is just devastating. It's the worst part of sports, but my God, like that list. At this point, you want to see, well, who can play? Because my goodness, everybody's out. So, yeah.
And the thing is, honestly, the last thing I'm just going to say about this, their schedule to close is not easy. I'm looking at their schedule right now. Terrika, I'm going to just read it to you. They are at Sparks, okay? And the Sparks have had their number all season, okay? They are at Valkyries. The Valkyries also have had their number all season, okay? And we already know how hard it is to win at Valhalla, okay? Then they are at Mercury. So their next 3 are on the road, right? And then the Sky come to town, and then they play the Mystics. And the Mystics, I think they've fallen a little too far to really have chances at making the playoffs, but they're still a tough team to play. They're still a tough team to play. That's on the road. And then their final game would be the Lynx coming to them. So of their remaining games, they only have 2 that are at home. And the rest are on the road of that schedule that I just read to you. And those teams are not, those are challenging teams even if you have Caitlyn Clark. So I just, when you take everything into consideration, I just don't know. And if they do make the playoffs, I feel like she can continue to do what she's been doing, because I've actually liked sideline Caitlyn. And also last night, I just have to give her a shout out because she unveiled her new logo for her signature shoe, and she came to the game last night in what I think might be my favorite fit I've ever seen Caitlyn Clark in. She looked so... Yeah. I really, really liked it. She strolled in, and it was like this chain belt, one of the
she
chains.
had a little swag last night.
Yeah, and the pants had like the logo all over it. And so she, I'm not saying she needs to be in street clothes, but I did like the way that she looked. And, she's been so supportive of the team. And you see her like getting into it with refs and cheering them on the sideline. And I'm sure she's also being an additional coach, telling them like what she sees. And so I know as a competitor, if she's really healthy, she's going to want to be on the floor. But I think you got to protect the asset. I really do. And that's where I land.
I would agree. I would 100% agree. And, for one, let me just say that it is incredible as a teammate to see another teammate be as engaged when they're not on the floor, right? Like that lets you know that they're still part of the team, that they're still, invested in the success of the team. And so to me, that's important to show that type of engagement and that level of care, being on the sideline, being in your street clothes, but still yelling at the refs, hyping up your team, coaching, being a part of the team without necessarily having to be on the court. And I know this coaching staff very well. And so I know that they push for that kind of thing and they want that kind of thing. And they support Caitlyn being like a coach, a player coach in some way. With all of that being said, though, I think that this franchise will make the playoffs. I don't at all foresee that they do not make the postseason. I just don't know if they stay at 6. This has been probably the most inconsistent season I've ever seen from almost everyone with the exception of the Minnesota Lynx. Like, they are maybe the only team that I have firmly said from the beginning they finna be in the playoffs. They probably gonna be number 1, and they are. Every other team, I've been like, I don't know. And then I've been like, oh yeah, they gonna get it. And then I've been like, oh, here they go with this again. Like, I don't know. I mean, this is literally a season where the Connecticut Sun just went on almost a 5-game win streak. Like, who saw that coming, right?
Right.
So I say that to say that with the up and down and inconsistent play of teams, specifically here late in stretch where you want to be playing your best basketball, anything can happen. You mentioned Washington. Washington can absolutely get a win on almost anyone any given night. But then you also see how, a team like New York can lose to a Chicago. Like, anything can happen in any way. So you're not safe at 6. But I do think that the play of Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston and Natasha Howard, when she wants to take over a game, Odyssey Sims is very capable of giving you 18 to 20 points. Like, Ariel Powers, a defensive powerhouse if you allow her to be. They have the capabilities of being disruptive, and they have the capabilities of securing a playoff spot. So I believe that they will get there. I just don't know if they stay 6. If they slip to 7 or 8, they're in trouble, because Minnesota in a series, winning a game, winning a Commissioner's Cup is one thing. Playing a team in a series. And this year, the playoffs are very different, where each team is going to have a game on the road. But we know that Minnesota can win on the road.
Yeah.
We know that they can win on the road. So you don't want to slip to 8. You don't want to be that team that gives Minnesota any opportunity to get you in the first round. You want to try to stay 6 or 7 and better your chances, better your shot. That is where I am concerned. So again, I think they make it, but I'm just not sure if they stay 6.
I truly don't know. Like, Seattle had me fooled for a little bit. They went on a 3-game win streak, and I said, okay, maybe they finally turning it around. And then they, got blown out by the Fever. So, you know, I don't know who's going to make it. Like from that 6 through 9 group, I don't know who's going to be the odd man out, but I tend to agree with you.
Yeah.
I think the Indiana Fever will be in, and they need to avoid the 8th spot like the plague.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and look, because of the new format, they'll at least get a home game, you know, in the playoffs if they do make it in the first round. And I'm sure fans would love that. So we will see. Listen, thank you, Terrika, as always. And guys, thank you for tuning into the WNBA on NBC. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can get more NBA discussions.